In today's Warzone video, I'm giving you the top 6 meta AR loadouts you need to be using. These are going to 100% be the best ARs to be using in Season 5. If you haven't enjoyed today's video, give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. Alright, so for our first skin here today, we're going to be going over the Grau 5.56. I have an old CDL camo on here just because I saved the variant forever ago. No, you can't get this anymore. It's a Cold War CDL camo pack, and I just happen to have this saved here luckily, so that's why I got this. But let's hop into a build here for the Grau. First thing, most category to go throw on the mono suppressor, sound suppression, and damage range. This is what we run on all of our modern warfare weapons. In the barrel section, we're gonna go throw on the Tempest 26.4 Archangel barrel for damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. You always got to run the Tempest 26.4 on this gun. There's no reason you guys should be running anything else besides the Tempest 26.4. After that, on a barrel section, we go for the Commando foregrip here for recoil stabilization and aiming stability. If you guys want to run something else, I probably would not recommend that at all. I mean, I've seen people try to run something like the Ranger foregrip or something like that, but to be honest with you guys, the Grau has like virtually no recoil. It's an absolute laser beam, so the Commando is pretty much all the stabilization you're going to need. Magazine, we're gonna go for the 60 round mags. I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? So I always just go for that 60. It's good to have a 60 round mag on your AR, or the larger magazine, with the exception of like the Kilo or something like that, because you don't want to throw in the 100 round drum. Just throw in like a 60 and you should be good to go. Now for our last attachment, we're going to go for the laser section here, and this is going to be more of a medium-ish range build, but actually I can switch it out here for something else, and everything else will work perfectly fine. But we're going to go for the TAC laser, ADS speed, aiming stability, aim locking steadiness. This is my personal favorite way to run the Grau. That you guys can, if you want to run it like this, you can definitely do that, or you take that off and throw on an optic or something like that, and go throw maybe a Corp Combat Hollow sight, maybe a VLK 3x optic, and if you really want to get crazy with it, all the way down here and go for the PBX Hollow 7 sight. And pretty much any of those 3 optic options will work, but for my preference, I go for the TAC laser, and this is my full build here for the Grau. So absolutely love using the Grau, super happy it's a meta AR, as it's really fun to use. All right, next up, I'll give you guys a build here for the Cooper Carbine. This is a gun that a lot of people really love using here because it shoots very accurately. The recoil is incredibly manageable. You can make it pretty much have 0 recoil. So let's give you guys a build here for the Cooper Carbine. This is going to pretty much be like the most meta build out there. A muzzle category, we're going to go for the MX silencer here, sound suppression, horizontal and vertical recoil control, and of course that increase in damage range. So obviously it's gonna be the best option for this as a true AR. In the barrel section, we go for the 22 Cooper Custom here for highly accurate and controllable recoil, that increase in fire rate, reduced scope sway and gun bob, and of course damage range. So once again, extending that damage range, which is really awesome. On the barrel section, you have a couple options in here. I see a lot of people go for the Carver foregrip, as that's definitely gonna help out your vertical recoil control. For something like me, you're playing on Caldera, that's gonna be a little bit more beneficial, but some other times people run something like the M1941 hand stop, and this will just kind of more or less help out with overall recoil control. Kind of switch back and forth between the two to see kind of what works out for you. Also, you can run something like this strife angled if you really feel like you only want a little bit more control on the horizontal. So you have a couple options in here, but for me personally, I go for the hand stop. Now, magazine section, we're gonna go for the 9mm 60 round drum. You pretty much always go for the 60 round drum on this gun. Like, there's no real ifs, ands, or buts about that. Ammunition side things, we're gonna go for lengthen for increase in bullet velocity. Though a lot of people actually do enjoy the compressed rounds, which actually increase your fire rate, but they decrease your accuracy. So if you're playing mainly like Rebirth Island or something like that, that'd probably be a better option, because you're not going to be engaging people at nearly as long of a range as you were if you were playing on something like Caldera, which maybe lengthen would be a little bit better because you're not going to lose any accuracy. Your shots are just going to register faster and or better. Now for the grip section here, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw in the polymer grip here for flinch resistance and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. This is going to be hugely beneficial to this gun, and there's a lot of great options in here, but I do believe the polymer works out very nicely. Optics section, we're going to do is we're going to go down here and we're going to go throw on the SVT scope, the 3 to 6 times magnification. If you guys really want to, you can switch it out for something like a little bit lesser and go for, where is it, the G16 2.5x. I scrolled right over it, but the G16 2.5 or the SVT scope are going to be pretty much my 2 options on this gun, because we're not making this into an SMG, whereas if you're making it into an SMG, you throw in something like a slate reflector. But because it's a true AR, the SVT scope is my go-to. Stock section, I'm going to go for the Cooper 45W for recoil control and mounted, crouched, or prone, accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. This is going to be super awesome. I know some of the other meta builds out there that they recommend, it would be the Cooper Custom padded, but I don't like at all that initial firing recoil. Like, I absolutely hate that, and it's like, why would you want to start losing accuracy upon initially firing? Because that's where it kind of almost matters the most, is who's going to land those first few shots. And if your gun starts bouncing around, it's not going to be all that great, and I don't like that, and I've used it before, and I'm just not a fan. So I always go for the Cooper 45W. My gun's an absolute laser beam. Now in perk 1, we're gonna go for tight grip, and you guys, this is just gonna help you be more of a laser. Then in perk 2, we're gonna go down here and throw on fully loaded for maximum starting ammo capacity. So this is my full build here on the Cooper Carbine. Really good gun. Definitely should be using this here within season 5. Next up, I got you guys a build here for the KGM40. This is another one of those Vanguard ARs that has literally like 0 recoil. It's ridiculous. So let's get into a build for this thing. Muzzle, we got to go for the MX silencer here, much like we did for the Cooper Carbine. Barrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for the Reisdorf 720mm shrouded barrel. This is gonna be like a task force, you know, style equivalent barrel. It's just gonna be the best barrel out there for this gun, pretty much like hands down. On a barrel section, we could go for the M1930 strife angled, as the recoil on this thing's really not all that bad, to be honest with you guys. Like, it's very manageable, if not like almost non-existent. So the strife angled works out very nice, and I do actually think it's a pretty solid option. In the magazine section, we're gonna go for the 8mm Clouser 60 round drum. This is just the way to go. It's a 60 round mag. I mean, as you guys know, I'm a 60 round mag kind of guy, so I go for that more or less anyways, but this is indeed just the best way to run this gun. It makes it the most effective as it can be at being an AR. Ammunition, gotta go for lengthened. And then in the rear grip section here, we're pretty much just gonna go for polymer on this thing, flinch resistance and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. Gotta kind of stabilize out here just a little bit, and this can help do that. Optic section, we're gonna go throw on, we're gonna go down here a little bit, but we're still gonna go throw on that SVT scope. I think it's actually at the very bottom. Yeah, last thing you unlock in the optic section here, but the 3 to 6 times scope. And like I said, for the Cooper Carbine, if you're playing something a little bit more closer quarters, throw on something like the G16 2.5x, and you could probably even switch out the build a little bit more so, just if you're trying to go for, you know, medium range, not necessarily long range. Whereas the 3 to 6 times scope, that 6 times definitely will come in a little bit more handy on maps like maybe like Fortune's Keep or Caldera, as opposed to Rebirth Island. Now, stock section, what I do is actually I go for the very first stock here, the 24SZ adjustable accuracy, ADS speed, aim locking movement speed. Gives me a little bit of mobility out of this gun here in terms of the pros, and we don't really care too much about the sprint to fire movement speed and hip fire accuracy, as we're not really whipping this gun out in close quarter situations and stuff like that, so it doesn't really matter all that much. Now in perk 1, we're just going to go for tight grip here, accuracy and recoil during sustained fire, and then in perk 2, we're just going to go for fully loaded here for that maximum starting ammo capacity. This is my full build here on this gun. Hope you guys enjoy the KGM40. It is a really solid gun to use. Also a pretty cool variant here with that gold camo on it. Next up, let's give you guys a build here for everyone's favorite Modern Warfare AR, the Kilo 141. This is a gun that gets very highly used here in Warzone for good reason. It's got very low recoil, and it's got a great damage profile, and it's pretty easy to be able to use, and pretty much every single person out there has got it unlocked. So first thing, muzzle, we're gonna go for mono suppressor here like always. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the 19.8 Prowler barrel. I mean, you guys always gotta go for the Prowler over the SOCOM. I've had people try to debate with me in the comment section, but you always need to run the Prowler. This is the best way to run this. It's like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, this is the best way to run this gun. Now, under barrel section, just gonna go for the Commando foregrip here, but if you really want to stabilize it out even more so, if you're having trouble with that recoil in any capacity, throw like a Ranger foregrip, and that's gonna be real good to stabilize this thing out more. But for me, I've always just ran the Commando, and it's just been fantastic. You know, anytime I've ever ran it with the Commando. Magazine, we're gonna go for the 60 round mag. As I said, pretty much I like to go for the maximum ammunition on, you know, an AR, but with the exception of a 100 round drum, I don't want to go for this on this thing. This is just really not a good idea. It slows you down way too much, and it just makes you pretty much like slow as molasses. Like, it's not good. So we go for the 60, or even if you want a little bit more mobility, the 50 can work out pretty nicely as well, because the fire rate on this thing is not ridiculously high, but I go for the 60. And then to finish off this thing in the optics section, this is one of those hybrid ARs, which I like running at a medium-ish range and also long range. So I love running the Corp Combat Hollow on here and throwing this on like a medium range thing, and maybe using this on like Fortune's Keep, Rebirth Island. And I also enjoy using a VLK 3 times optic on Rebirth Island or Fortune's Keep. I don't really play Caldera much, so I can't really vouch too much for that, but I just really enjoy the VLK or the Corp Combat. And then much like I said for everything else, you guys can use the PBX Hollow 7 sight as well. It's just a little bit different, looks a little bit cooler in my opinion. But this is my full build here for the Kilo 141. Hope you guys enjoy using this AR, and once again, this has a CDL camo that I saved on it a long while ago. Next up, a gun that you guys probably see frequently in my gameplay videos, the STG-44. This is one of my more favorite ARs to run in Warzone right now, and I really enjoy this thing. So let's give you guys a solid build that's gonna have you strafing around quite a bit and having virtually like zero recoil. So muzzle category, gotta go for the MX silencer here. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the VDD 760mm 05B barrel. I think I butchered that just a little bit, but you guys get what I'm saying. The 760, we pretty much only go for this thing on this gun. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go for the Carver foregrip here. We used to run like the hand stop or the M1930 strife angle, but this specific build here works very nicely with the Carver foregrip here. You get a bit of that, you know, pro that you don't really need, which is the hip fire accuracy, but we're mainly focused on the vertical recoil control because the vertical recoil control on that 760 barrel did get nerfed within an update. So this is kind of how we counteract that. Now in the magazine section, we're just going to go for the 7.62 Gorenko 50 round mag. We always go for the 7.62 Gorenko 50. Pretty much never use anything else. I've seen people try to use the Kerr 60. I personally don't. I go for the 50. Ammunition, I'm going to go for lengthen for increasing bullet velocity. Rear grip section here, we're going to go for polymer grip, flinch resistance, and accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. And then in the optic, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here, and pretty much only thing I run is the SVT scope on this gun. I don't ever go for the G16 2.5 anymore. That's not really my cup of tea. I only go for the 3 times on this, and I'll tell you what, my shot is absolutely like electric. It's super accurate. I love using it. Now for the stock section, something I really got a liking to here recently is with the combination of this whole build is the Constance tactical aim walking movement speed, aim walking steadiness, and initial firing recoil. This helps you move around just a little bit more, and I actually really dig using this on this gun. Like it's very, very nice. So I would definitely recommend it for you guys to give it a try. And then perk 1, we're actually going to go for a sleight of hand for that just increase in reload quickness, as I don't really feel like vital or focus is really going to be all that great. I just prefer to run sleight of hand just to kind of help me out of some sticky situations. And then in perk 2, we're going to go, of course, for fully loaded. So this is my full STG build. Definitely give this one a try. It's real fun to be able to use, and it's also super meta, and I've been frying with it pretty much in like all my videos. Last but definitely not least, we're gonna give you guys a build here for the Automaton. So the Automaton is a gun that a lot of people love, and for good reason, because it's super solid to be able to use in Warzone. It's got a large magazine and a very little recoil, not zero recoil, but little. So we're gonna minimize that out as much as possible here with this build. First thing, muzzle, gotta go for, of course, the MX on. So I was about to scroll down there, but we're not gonna go for the Mercury. We're gonna go for the MX. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the Zach 600mm BFA barrel. This is gonna be really crucial in neutralizing out as much recoil as possible, so I definitely recommend if you guys run this. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go for the Carver foregrip here on this thing, vertical recoil control and hipfire accuracy. I know there's a bit of a glitch in the game right now with the bipod, where a lot of people enjoy the bipod. You kind of have to be crouched and everything for that like 30% reduction of recoil to take place. And I mean, we're not really crouching all that much, so if you guys want to crouch, you definitely can, but I don't really believe it works otherwise. So I'd say just for everything and all other intents and purposes, run the Carver foregrip. Magazine section, we're just going to go for the 6.5 Sakura 75 round drum. We pretty much always go for this. Ammunition, just got to go for lengthen. It's a pretty standard one right here for an AR. In the rear grip section here, couple of different options, but more or less what we're gonna do is we're just gonna find something to kind of stabilize out this gun a little bit more so. And so we're just gonna go for the hatch grip here for recoil control and flinch resistance. This is gonna help us out here. The polymer grip kind of does a little bit of that same thing, so you guys could switch back and forth between the hatch and the polymer. It's not gonna make too much of a difference, but you guys may notice something here and there. But I guess we'll just throw on the polymer here for this build, whatever. Optic section, we're just gonna go throw on what I prefer right now, which is the SVT 3 to 6 times scope. Absolutely love the 3 to 6 times on this gun. Stock section, apart from it actually looking really cool, the Zach skeletal is actually what I run on this specific gun. I chose this variant here, the steamer variant, because it's really neat. I also just hate how that when you change the stock, you literally lose half the gun, which is like ridiculous. I don't get why that's a thing, but anyways, the Zach skeletal here is just the way to go for the for me on this particular build here. I like a little bit of movement. And then perk 1, I just go for tight grip for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. And then in perk 2, finish off this whole thing fully loaded. So this is my full build here for the Automaton. Virtually zero recoil, fun to build to use. If you guys enjoyed today's video, give it a like, subscribe with notifications turned on, and I'll see you all later. Just remember, don't cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.